For most people, hazards of the job rarely include being punched in the face. But for today's guest, it's just another day in the office. Jelena Mrdjenovich is my guest on today's podcast.
Reluctantly.
This podcast brought to you by homegirls.ca, a top producing team at Remax Professionals, and thompsonmortgages.com. They take care of the financials, you search for your perfect home. The combination of these two sponsors has helped me facilitate multiple real estate transactions, including my most recent move right here in 2025. Now here's today's show.
Reluctantly.
Hey.
Hey, no bleeding, no scars, no open wounds so far?
Not right now, no.
Not today?
Last week I had a little bit of a shiner, but we're okay now.
Was that from training, or was that from an accident with the dog or somebody?
From training, I was actually in training camp in Florida, and then the whole show got canceled for the fight I was supposed to be on, so we ended up rescheduling.
Okay, like I want to start at the beginning and stuff, but I like happy belated birthday, by the way. I know it was just like 5 or 6 weeks ago. You turned 43.
Yeah, 43. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
What are you
So,
doing? What are you doing? Still boxing?
well, this is the thing. It's always like a long thing, but my trainer of forever ago passed away, and I kind of lost a couple of years, and I found a new trainer. He wasn't the best, so I kind of had a little slump. And now I found someone who's pretty amazing, and I still feel like I have more to give, and I want to finish my story kind of the way I want to, not on anybody else's kind of accord. So still doing it, still feel great, still competing with all the kids and keeping up. So I got a couple more. This is about my last year and a half, year-ish left. So
Your last fight, it was just before you turned 41. You were 40 years old, and how
actually
many?
I fought in February of this last year in Gatineau, Quebec. So I won. It was a tough camp. I was sick most of it. I know I Not really a lot of people followed it, but it's because the date changed once or twice with these Montreal promoters. So we ended up having the fight. I had bronchitis the entire training camp, so it was tough, but we got the win. We won every round. Not the way I wanted to. I wanted to knock her out, but we got it done.
Okay, I do remember that now because I was trying to find it online, and then I was watching other people on social media that were cheering you on, going, "Yay!" and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
kind of doing the play-by-play and that sort of thing.
It was on DAZN, which is where a lot of the boxing is shown now.
Right.
So, but it was definitely last minute, kind of a last minute card put together. The promoter did back-to-back shows, so it was confusing for a lot of people.
So I've been a fan of yours since the day I met you, the first time you were in on the show, just because of everything about you. You are so down to earth, and you just have such a great story, and the perseverance, and the fight, obviously, because you're a boxer, but the fight inside you is just phenomenal. But it was almost by accident. Is that kind of a safe way of putting it?
I think so, but I think that's where I get a lot of my fans is almost by accident. Back when I started, I mean, we're going back to 2003 was my first professional fight. Women's boxing wasn't a thing. Women's combative sports wasn't really a thing. And so, a lot of people kind of looked at me and they're like, oh, okay, we'll see. And then once they got to see me and meet me and talk to me and share my passion like you, then a lot of people became fans. So you'd be accurate saying that it would be a by accident for a lot of people that have supported me unconditionally throughout my career of now 22 years. So, I'm thankful for all the accidental run-ins, and I'm thankful for the incredible support that I've had.
Before you became a boxer, you were playing basketball, hurt your knee, and did you have a sniff? Like, could you have played high level ball, or was it more of a recreational injury?
Well, I walked onto the U of A basketball team. I wasn't recruited. Didn't even look into the recruitment process. Went through all of tryouts, training camp, and earned a red shirt kind of spot while I was working my way on the team. And at the time, it was Trix Baker, who was a tough, tough coach. And we had a crazy tryout, then we had a training camp, and then it was actually very first practice of being on the team. And I blew my ACL out, like total accident, and ended up getting surgery. U of A was amazing. My doctors were amazing. I rehabbed incredibly quick. I think I was doing full activity within 4 months, which was unheard of at the time, and I actually was playing pickup basketball in the gym with all the football guys at U of A, and, Trix saw me and she's like, "Ah, Jelena, you can't do that. We didn't medical you yet, so you're officially kicked out of our gyms." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I guess I gotta find something else to do to keep me busy." So my dad and I were watching boxing on TV, and that he essentially told me I couldn't do it, and I was like, challenge accepted. So to answer your story, I walked onto the U of A basketball team, and at the time we were fairly decent, and we had a bunch of incredible players, and I don't know if I would have earned a spot on like the top 5, but I would have been a bench player. I work really hard and I grind, and that's been the story of my boxing career.
Did you came to Edmonton from Northwest Territories to go to school, or did you come earlier than that? How old were you when you came to Edmonton?
I actually I moved to Alberta when I was 5. I
Mm.
lived on a farm just west of the city, kind of by, well, Cebu Beach, Gameford area, by Lake Mamam out there. And I lived there my entire life. I went to boarding school because our school was kindergarten, grade 12, 200 kids. So the education wasn't super great. So I went and lived in Victoria. And then the minute I graduated, I moved to Edmonton and U of A. So back in 2000, forever ago. So Edmonton is home. Yeah.
What was on the farm? Was it animals? Was it a grain farm? What were you doing?
My dad's what I like to say a hobby farmer. He raises buffalo, cattle, donkeys, and sheep. He's anything he thinks he can raise, he buys and tries.
So
So
it's all
it's more livestock. Livestock. He's big into buffalo, bison, so we have a big consistency of that.
is that the family business that you reference in Jelena, the film?
No, my dad, by trade is a developer, so he builds anything from houses to office buildings to hotels. He's through and through entrepreneur, and he's insanely busy all the time.
And self-made. When he came over here
Self-made.
yeah, so he's,
Eh,
I think he came over at the age of 18 with nothing, and then
yeah, so he's a pretty incredible man. He is extremely difficult, but he's pretty incredible.
where was home for your dad? Where did he come from?
So he was from former Yugoslavia. So he was actually in Croatia, but in a Serbian village. And then when it separated, so he is Serbian, but he's from the former Yugoslavia.
And then, over here, on his own and raised a family, and
Yeah,
your mom is still with us?
yeah. My mom lives in Vancouver, but she comes here all the time. And Dad's here in Edmonton, and I have 6 siblings and
6?
a 6. I have an older brother, 2 younger sisters, my mom and dad, and then 3 half siblings.
Oh, okay, yeah,
And then a whole whack of nieces and nephews, so they keep me busy.
okay, yeah, blended family. Because I knew about
Mhm.
Milan, Alexa, and Milika, is that how you say her name?
Milica, yeah.
Melissa.
Yeah, Milica. Yeah.
Huge supporters of your career, but somewhat reluctant, maybe?
And still to this day, yeah. So, when we filmed that documentary, at the time, they were trying to get me to quit. Now, fast forward however many years later we are, still supporting, but even more reluctant. So, yeah, they're my biggest supporters, my biggest fans, and, my sisters, they're hard pressed to miss a fight. Yeah, Alexa actually, Milica just had a baby, but Alexa was in Gatineau, screaming ringside as always. So, I'm very fortunate to have such a supportive group of people. Yeah.
Nobody likes getting punched in the face, and the Mike Tyson quote, "Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face." Do you remember the very first time it happened to you and you thought, "Oh, wait a minute. Did I make the right decision?"
100%. So this is funny because I went in, uh, I started boxing on a challenge from my dad, even though he didn't intentionally do it. And I went down to a gym. Of course, I'm like calling to try because back then there was no well, there was email and internet, but nobody really used it, right? So no social media, stuff like that. So I was calling all these gyms from the yellow pages, which the kids won't understand that reference, but I was looking up all these boxing gyms, and finally one of the gyms answered the phone. I didn't know that it wasn't just a gym. Boxing gyms are typically open in the evening when kids can go and people go after work and stuff like that. I didn't know that at the time. So I found a gym, which was interesting to say the least. And I went down and I think I stayed for like 4 or 5 hours the first day I boxed. I just wanted to learn everything, right? And so finally, I think it was like my third or fourth day, and they put me to do drills with another girl. And again, back in the day, there were not a lot of females in boxing gyms. So, and it wasn't really like you weren't really welcomed. Like there was the girl, it was like her gym, and she felt threatened. And any new girl that walked in, they were like, "What are you doing here? Like, why are you in my space?" kind of thing. It was very confrontational, and so I was doing there was 2 girls at the gym. One was, like, an old lady who's I shouldn't say old, she was probably my age, but she was just doing my age now. I was 19 at the time, so we were just doing, like, it's like, where you catch a jab and you throw a jab, right? So you catch and throw, and so it was the very first, like, catch and throw, like, she started and she just bam, right in the nose, and my eyes started watering, and I was like if you've never been hit in the face before, you're like, everything's tearing, my nose is running, and I was like, "What the hell, man? We're just doing these drills, like, I don't even have a mouthpiece in," like and so I was like, "Okay, alright, well, now I gotta hit you back harder," so I was like, "Boom," and I just threw it, like, as hard as I knew at that time, and so it was very funny, so I was like but the minute I got hit, I was like, "Okay, well, I wanna do it back, and I wanna do it back even better." So, that was kind of the very first, like I'll never forget it because I was just like everything was tearing, I was just like, "What is happening?" But it was amazing. Yeah, it was awesome.
When you were a kid and on the farm and stuff, were you a girly girl or were you a tomboy?
Tomboy through and through. Like I played all the sports growing up, and I always wanted to be best friends with my brother. I mean, he always wanted a brother, not a sister, and so I always used to follow him around. My mom and dad tell me a funny story is that my first steps were towards my brother, and he hated me so much that I wasn't a boy that he punched me in the face. And I like got up and I tried to walk to him again. So growing up, I always tried to chase him around and follow him and his friends, and they tried to leave me behind, but I was pretty resourceful, so I think growing up on the farm, we had these neighbor boys that lived, I don't know, 3/4 of a kilometer away, and we always used to meet at the bottom of, like, the hill in between, and then we'd figure out how we were gonna play, and one boy was a little older than me, and one was a little older than my brother. So there was the 4 of us, and they always used to pit me and the youngest one together, and we always used to try and fight at the bottom of the hill if there was any beef between the 4 of us, you know? But my brother always said I was the feistiest, and I would always be on top of the other boy trying to beat him up, but I was tiny growing up. I was this little stick little thing, and I always used to try and rough up the boys as much as I could. So, I guess I come by it naturally.
Did it come to the point at all where Milan had to, fend off the boys who were chasing after you as you grew into a
Oh.
teenager and stuff?
That's probably why my brother hated me growing up is because again, we were in a very small school, and so there was only a handful of people, like, my brother and I had a split grade growing up. It was 2, 4, 3, 6, and then when we got into, junior high, it was we were always together, and so all of his buddies always used to try and bug him about me, even though I never paid attention because I was, like I said, a tomboy and in the gym 24/7, so it was always kind of an issue, so he was always trying to He was always trying to definitely step in between anybody and me, so he's a tough boy too, though. He played rugby, so everybody was a little intimidated.
Yeah, he seems just from watching the Jelena the film documentary, it looks like he could probably handle himself. Your dad too. I'll bet you your
Oh,
dad has gigantic hands.
massive, massive. That's where I get my big hands from, I think, for sure.
You got
But the knuckles, they're like they definitely don't match my wrists. Like yeah, was built to be a boxer.
you were talking about going into the gyms and, how there may have been 1 or 2 girls or women, females in the gym, but it was not a super receptive place because there was kinda like a queen of the gym sort of thing. Isn't women can be like that toward each other, can't they? It's kinda nasty, isn't it?
It's unbelievable because and I came in like I was already a young woman, like I was 19 and I was already working full time helping my dad. So I was always, and I had great female mentors through business. So I don't think I ever had that. Like I've always wanted to help everybody with everything. Again, that was probably my younger sisters and my younger siblings had something to do with that. So for me, it was shocking because I was like, I just want to learn. Like I didn't come in to the gym thinking, oh, I'm going to be a world champion boxer. I didn't even think I was going to have a fight, but everything kind of just moved along and I just kept getting better. But I was fortunate. I think it was, I want to say 3 or 4 months into it, the guy who owned the gym, his son's girlfriend started boxing, and she was amazing, and her and I really bonded and helped each other and supported. She was, like, 5 foot nothing and 100 and, like, 5 pounds, so, like, we could never, like, really spar together and do stuff, but we did all of our drills, and, yeah, she was incredible, and she was a big help, but that wasn't until, I think, 3 or 4 months into me starting this journey, so but it was always definitely, a contentious thing, like, we would go to other gyms to spar and to train, and the other girls would always try and pick you off one by one. I think it's changed to a point, but I think some women are still like that in gyms. I mean, I've been around the world, and definitely when the girls come in, their ears go up and they're ready to go. Not to help, but to, like, throw down.
Reluctantly.
This podcast is reluctantly sponsored by the real estate team of homegirls.ca, a top producing team at Remax Professionals. If you are buying or selling in the Edmonton region, Shauna and Bonnie can handle everything with strong industry connections to mortgage brokers, home inspectors, lawyers, and contractors to support every step of the process. The market is very active right now. We recently listed our home, again, and it went from MLS to closing conditions in 8 days. Now, of course, results may vary from property to property, but Shauna and Bonnie have been our trusted real estate advisors through buying and selling no less than 7 properties. I've recommended them to many friends who want real, relatable people with a personalized, hands-on approach. New home, investment, recreational, even commercial properties. Homegirls.ca is the website. Email info is right there. And the phone number is 780-517-HOME.
Reluctantly.
When you had your first fight in 2003, that was your first professional fight. How many had you had prior to that, or was it all just sparring and
So I had, we always when we when we did my professional application, we said I had 13 amateur fights, which half of those were exhibition because you get our landscape. We live in Western Canada and we live in Alberta. Alberta's a big space and the girls from out Eastern Canada, they have a lot more demographic to go through. So in amateur boxing, there's juniors, there's youth juniors, and then there's seniors. And so I was a senior, and then the local girls around here, actually, a couple fought pro for a bit. They were all younger than me. So technically, we couldn't have amateur bouts because we weren't in the same brackets. So we just did exhibition sparring matches for a lot of my fights. I think my first think I was like 5 months, 6 months into boxing. I went to nationals and I ended up, I think, placing 3rd or something. I didn't understand. I hit a girl and then the ref was like, I expected an 8 count at the time, and the ref kind of looked at me, I looked at him, and then they didn't give her an 8 count, and then I did it again and they didn't stop the fight. And so it was just, I was very inexperienced at the time, and so that was my kind of one. After that, I was like, this is ridiculous. And that's when Milan and I started training together. And he's like, amateur is, we just can't do it where we're from. So let's turn pro. So I had, well, we say 13-ish, but I think I had 5 or 6 actual real amateur bouts.
So when you turned pro, Milan, and that was the thing you said. Well, you have to turn pro, and
Well, he didn't say I had to. He said if I wanted to continue doing this boxing thing, was he was really good friends with my dad. So he was Serbian as well, and so he was helping me out because of my dad initially. He's like, if you want to continue doing this boxing thing, which he thought I would, get over quickly, he's like, we have to go pro. And the idea of that was at least we could control our fights because we started going to these amateur tournaments and the girls just wouldn't weigh in because they didn't wanna fight. Like, they just because as an amateur, you go to these tournaments, you weigh in, and then you see who's in your category, and then they do the draw. So we would all weigh in, and then the girls would pull out. So he's like, "This is stupid. We get ready for this tournament, and nobody shows up." He's like, "So if we're gonna do this boxing thing, let's turn pro, and we can control when and where and who we fight. At least we'll get a fight." So that was the idea of turning pro. And then the first time I took the headgear off and I was under the lights and all of the things, it was just, I always tell people boxing found me. Like I found what I was supposed to do in my journey and my path. And it's not conventional, but I wouldn't change it for anything. And so that headgear came off and he's like, you have this option always under 3 fights back in the day, you could go back to amateur. He's like, so what'd you think? I said, that was the best night of my life. I was like, can we do it again? And can we do it again soon? So I fell in love with it right then and there. I
and
had passion for it before, but I absolutely fell in love with the pro game.
you talked about taking the headgear off. I was going to ask you the first pro fight, the walk to the ring. Was it a big production, or like obviously larger than what had been happening in the amateur tournaments? Like, what was going through your head as you walked from your dressing room to the ring? Was it a long distance? Was it a short? Or like what was that like?
So my very first fight was at the Shaw Conference Center. I can't remember who was the main event. I wanna say it was Scotty Olsen's show, but I don't quote me on that because 'cause I'm not 100% sure. I have to look it up. But it was a big event. Like, it was at the Shaw Conference Center. You've been to the fights there, have you? Yeah? Anywhere from 1,500 to 4,000 people. And I remember this too, because and again, I've had 57 professional fights, so there's a few that really stick out. And my first fight, I remember driving to the venue and I was with my sisters and we were talking about it and excited, and they're like, "What is your gonna be your walkout song?" And I was like, "Walkout song?" I didn't even think about it. I was like, I don't know. Nobody told me I needed a walkout song." And so we're driving to the venue and my sisters are playing songs, like trying to find me a walkout song. And like back in the day it was CDs, like most cars. And so we were trying all these songs, and actually I think Milica picked me the final countdown. And so that has been my walkout song my entire career. And so like as you're saying, like I wasn't thinking about the magnitude of what was happening. Like, I was busy getting ready, selling tickets because I didn't get paid for my first bunch of fights. I had to sell tickets to pay for my opponent and all the things. So I was slanging tickets and I barely remembered to bring shorts. Like, boxing trunks and not just workout gear. So I was like, so we picked the music on the way. My sisters like brought my bags up with me, and then I was like, "Okay, bye." And they're like, they went and sat in the seats. And Milan, Milan had this amazing way of always calming me down and focusing me like the week of the fight. And this is what I think I missed the most with him, is that week before the fight and then the lead up to the actual fight. And so in the dressing room there's so much going on because we were always given our own dressing room, but we preferred, there was guys that we trained with, we preferred sharing a dressing room, mostly to keep me distracted because he knew what I was like. And so we sit, we joke, we laugh, we hang out, and then it's time to warm up. So I don't even think my first fight I thought about the people, even though I sold 100 tickets. I don't think I thought about the opponent. Milan had this way of distracting me just enough about the excess that I didn't realize what was actually happening. And I was so laser focused on him that, like, I think the first time I noticed there was a ton of people there was when they announced my name and everybody went nuts, and I was like, "Oh my god, we're really doing this." I was like, "We're really doing this." And Milan came out and he goes, "Listen, honey," because I was like his third daughter. He's like, "You have to focus and you have to focus now." He goes, "Don't get scared now. We're already in it, so you might as well do it well." And I was like, "Okay." And I had the most fun. Yeah, I'm so glad that I didn't notice all the things
Yeah.
until they announced my name, because I would have been a mess.
Y
Yeah.
your first 10 fights, you went 9-1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there were a bunch of unanimous decisions in there, some TKOs and some KOs.
I
Now
think there were more TKOs and KOs
yeah,
than decisions, but there was a few, yeah.
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 So, I'm just wondering, like, with a knockout, is that kinda would it be comparable to when a baseball player hits a home run and there's just that sweet spot on the bat where you just know? Is it the same thing when you throw a punch and you connect and you just know that that opponent is going down?
There's been a couple, yeah. A lot of the TKOs, the ref stops it, or they just don't beat the count. Like, they don't beat the count. They're up, but then the ref says no. So those ones sometimes you don't know. Like, there's a couple of body shots that, like, I've hit girls and I was like, "Whew, that's not gonna feel good tomorrow," kind of thing. But my first world title, like that punch I threw, and I was like, "Oh, oh." I hit her and then I just started walking away. And I was like, I ran back to the corner after the ref, like, they didn't get up. And I go to Milan, I was like, I didn't even hit her. And he goes, "That's how it's supposed to feel." He goes, "But you knew when you landed." And he goes, I go, "Oh, did I ever?" And I just started laughing and he started laughing. And like, that's when you know. So I think I've had like 5 or 6 of those, just you just know, and you just start walking to the corner. Like, yeah, they're pretty amazing.
I'm finding myself sitting more and more on the edge of my
You're
s
like
I I'm
you're
I
like,
am
"I'm
just
just
l
gonna"
I am absolutely loving the way you tell the stories and this stuff because I can feel, literally feel the enthusiasm that you have for what you do. I think and you've never been knocked out, is that correct?
Knock on wood, no, I haven't. I think, well, I don't think. I know I've touched the canvas once, but there's, like, some contention to that one because I was very sick and I probably shouldn't have been fighting. Like, I had, remember when H1N1 was going around?
Yeah, yeah.
So I had H1N1. I thought I was just kinda under the weather. I'm very stubborn, obviously, this is how I've gotten to where I'm at. And so I was I was very sick. But my sister, Alexa, was driving me around and all the things, and because I was quite sick, but it was a world title fight. And I had done 8, 9 weeks of training. I was like, "Well, I'd have to fight," and because I was main event, how it works is if your main event drops out, the whole show is in jeopardy, right? And Milan and Mel, his daughter, my promoter, like they're my family, and I didn't want the whole show to go down. So, Milan was always concerned about me first, and I would say, "No, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. I was very sick." So, I ended up having H1N1, maybe had a little cough syrup before the fight, and so I touched the canvas one. I've touched the canvas one time in that fight. I came back to the corner, and I go. He goes. Milan goes, "Honey, are you okay?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "What round are we in?" He's like, "We're going into 4." I said, "Oh, are we winning?" He said, "No, baby, we're not." I said, "Oh, okay, so I guess we gotta turn things up a little bit." And he goes, "Yeah." And so we ended up losing a split decision, which I thought we rallied enough to win, but these things happen in boxing when you don't hit that sweet spot.
Your desire to knock your opponent out, how like, on a scale of 1 to 10, where does it measure? Like a 23 sort of thing in there, or
Oh, more. Milan, like when you've had a bunch, I was, there's again, women's boxing wasn't a thing, and in Edmonton, we were a fight town. Like we were a dormant fight town before I came around, right? Like we had the Ken LaCusta, the Willie DeWitt's fight here, the Scotty Olsons, the Mario Lachowskis, like we had a bunch of fighters here, and then we had a lull, right? And then I came around. Like there were still fights, but we didn't really have anyone. And a lot of our media people and people in the boxing world didn't want to see me succeed at first. And maybe some of them still don't, and that's on them. That's not my problem. But they didn't want to see me succeed. And so there was a time when I was fighting for world titles and world contendership and things like that where I was told through very good people. There was people on the judging panel and that were part of the commission that they were like, yeah, if I'm judging Jelena's fight, she's never gonna win. And so for me, that's when knockouts became more of a thing. I craved them, I wanted them. Not only that, I'm entertained with knockouts, so I want to entertain myself while I'm fighting, like it's if I'm bored, then what the fun how is everybody else feeling if I'm bored in the fight? You know what I mean? Like I can box the bricks off of anybody, but I want to get in the dirt and I want to have that exciting style, which is why I have so many supporters in Edmonton and I've done as well as I can. So yeah, the knockouts are like are everything. They're like out of 10, they're like 100 and whatever plus. So, and now it's funny because the trainer I'm with, Sugar Hill, Stewart, his big motto is like bang and get it over with, like let's just knock him out and go. And when he started training Tyson Fury, that was a big thing that he changed in his game. Became a knockout guy, for a big part of his career. And so, it's something we always look for, but they don't happen all the time. It's tough.
it's a discouraging. And then my daughter was a synchronized swimmer or like from elementary school right through into high school, and it's a judged sport, uh, and boxing is
Tough.
as well, unless, of course, like you say, you knock somebody the fuck out,
Yeah.
basically. So
Uh,
after that, there's not really any judgment that has to happen with the three people down there with their little, 93 to 97 or whatever. But
Yeah.
I just don't understand how there can be I mean, it can't be subjective. It has to be objective. And, whether it's judging you at your profession, in your sport, or writing about you. I mean, I don't understand how people can have the mindset where you think, "Oh, I hope she never wins, so I never have to write about her." That seems ridiculous to me.
I always it's very funny because one of my biggest challenges I think when I started was getting people to look at me just as a boxer, not as a female boxer, not as Jelena the boxer. Like I just wanted people to look at me as a boxer for what I did and my achievements. And I remember way back in the day, John Short wrote for everyone and was a big Edmonton writer, sports writer. And he was like, I will never be a fan of women's boxing. I will never be a fan of female fighting. And I looked at him because we were doing, and he was asking, it was post-fight questions. I'm sorry, like, I will never be a fan of yours. I will cover you because I have to, but I'll never be a fan. And I was like, you know what, John, you are entitled to your opinion. I said, and that's fine. But mark my word, one day you will be my fan. Like, you will support me, not because I'm a female and not because you hate female fighting, because you just love what I do. And I don't remember which fight it was, and he came up to me after at ringside. He was like, I have to take my like I have to eat my shoes. I have open mouth, insert foot. I am a fan. And he actually wrote it on a headline, and I have the paper somewhere in a box. And it is one of my favorite news articles because I was like, I promise you, mark my words, however long it takes, it will happen. And sure enough, he like that was his headline. He's like, I am a fan of Jelena Mrdjenovich. And I was like, I win. Yeah, it was great.
Reluctantly.
This podcast reluctantly sponsored by thompsonmortgages.com. Not limited to just mortgages. They also provide insurance. Almost any service associated with a home or building purchase can be done in-house. And for anything beyond that, they have an extensive network of professionals at their fingertips. Consolidations, loans, mortgages, legal services, accounting services, financial planning, insurance. They are your one-stop shop. How do I know this? Well, Mike at thompsonmortgages.com has helped us out with our mortgages for the last few real estate transactions that we have made. You can be confident that they will work hard to ensure all your mortgage and insurance goals are fulfilled. Check them out for yourself. thompsonmortgages.com.
Reluctantly.
So, which fight was it? Was fight number 7 where you became world champion? Was that the one against Olivia?
I want to say, no, I won my first world title in 2005, and it was against Francesca Alcantar.
Oh,
And it
okay.
was the same knockout, same left hook knockout. And I want to say that might have been,
15 fights in. I'm just looking here now. So,
yeah,
you know,
15 fights, 2
15.
years.
So
What?
2 years from 2 years
And I
pro.
had 15 fights in 2 years?
Yeah.
Holy, time
And
flies.
all of a sudden you're the
Okay.
world champion. Like world goddamn champion. What was that like?
I So Milan told me I knocked out Olivia Gorilla. It was like my 6th or 7th fight in Winnipeg. That fight was crazy because I had never fought on the road in someone else's backyard. I had never fought in someone else's backyard. And so I walk in and I am getting booed. I've never been booed in my career, right? Like, I mean, I've only fought at home, and like I was getting booed, and I was like looking at Milan. He's like, "Don't worry about it." And so we go and booing. I have the worst start to a fight that I've had. It was like we were in the 3rd round, and I sucked. Like, I was terrible. And I go to the corner, and again, tough love because Milan was like my second dad. He goes, listen. He's like, if you don't get your head out of your ass right now, he's like, if you don't do something this round, he's like, we're gonna go back to Edmonton. We're never gonna talk about boxing again. He's like, I don't even want you to utter the words that start with B. He was like so mad, like so mad. And this is in our minute break in the corner, right? There was no instructions. It was just yelling at me about like how terrible I was and that I needed to get my head out of my butt. And he always had this way of like he put the Vaseline on his hand and then he'd slap me. So it would look like he's putting grease on me, but he was really just giving me like a little love tap, you know? And so he puts the grease on and he's like, "You hear me?" And I was like, "Yeah, I hear you." And he goes, "What did I say?" And I was like, "To get my head out of my ass." And he's like, "Okay." And he pushes me into the ring. I don't know if you've ever seen like you've come to fights live, right?
I've been to a couple, yeah, not as many
Yeah.
as yeah.
Yeah, so he pushed me into the ring, like, from the corner, and I stumble forward, and I go, and I finally get my head on my ass, and I'm a little better, not great, so we're in the 4th round, and at the end of the round, I land this boom right hand, and she's kinda wobbling, but it was at the end of the round, and so he comes back, and it was like Jekyll and Hyde. He was, like, high-fiving me, he's like, "That's what I'm talking about," and he goes on, and then I think it was the next round, I think it was 5th or 6th round. It was a 6-round fight, so I'm not sure if we knocked her out in the last one. So anyway, I do the same thing. I come out, jab, jab, right hand, left hook, dead body. And I was like, "Oh my god." And he's like, "So this is my first clean sweet spot knockout." And I'm like, after I'm done, of course, being excited because I was literally getting the shit kicked out of me for the first half of the fight. I go back to the corner, I'm jumping on him, I'm super pumped. My first real knockout, like one punch, not moving. And then time goes on, and I'm like, "Oh my god." I'm like, "Is she okay?" And I'm looking at Milan, and now I feel kinda guilty at first, like, I'm still super pumped, but I'm like, "Milan, you should go see if she's okay," and I'm like, we're arguing about who should go see if she's okay, and I was like, "You have to go." So I, like, push him to go check her, like, we both wanted to go check her, I'm like, "But you should go." So he goes, and, like, she was on the canvas for, like, a significant amount of time. And so, like, she was fine, but I remember arguing with him, and I was like he's like, "Don't feel bad, honey. If she wanted to do it if she could do it to you, she would've." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right. This is the name of the game." And so but I remember the first real knockout, and that was the first time fighting away from home, and I was getting the crap kicked out of me, and I pulled it through, and it was just that was amazing. That was one of my favorite fights for sure.
Your opponents, how many of them like, I know you've had rematches and that sort of thing, but how many first-time opponents had you met prior to, like, a month or 2 months or 2 years or whatever before weigh-in or before fight night or whatever? Like, I guess the reason that I'm asking this is it difficult to fight somebody that you basically have no quarrel with?
So, this is funny too. Oh, I have so many stories. 57 fights, I guess, 22 years, you have a bunch of stories. Melissa Hernandez. I fought her 3 times, you know. We brought her in as a sparring partner because there was enough sparring partners in Edmonton, so we flew her in. She stayed for 5 or 6 weeks, and we became friends, like, obviously, and she trained me for my first defense against Amiko Raika from Japan, and I had a beautiful fight. I boxed like I should do, and I won every round, and my brother says that's his favorite fight because I looked like a beautiful boxer, like, but, I mean, I was like, "Yeah, it was okay, I didn't knock her out though, but whatever." But Melissa Hernandez came in, for that camp, and yeah, we became friends, and I had an opponent that didn't pass all the medicals, for one of our bouts here, and so the only person that would take the fight last minute was Melissa, and so Milan didn't tell me right away that we were fighting Melissa. So when I saw her, actually, he told me finally when someone was going to pick her up at the airport. He goes, "Yeah, so we got you an opponent." I was like, "Okay," and he's like, "You're not going to be happy about this, but it's Melissa." And I was like, "What the hell, man?" Like, and he's like, "Listen, this is the fight game, and if you want to fight, this is who you have to fight." Like, it was always tough love with him, like, and so I was like, "Okay, fine." And so same thing with her. She was like she's like, "Listen, we're both getting paid." And I was like, "You're getting paid. I'm not really getting paid." But and so, we had a great fight. We've had 3 great fights. But there's no love lost. She's still a friend of mine. She lives in Miami. When I do my camps down there because that's where my trainer is based out of now. And we text all the time, and we're still friends even though we fought 3 times. I think there's only ever been 1, maybe 2 opponents that I was like, "I actually don't like you." You know, it's a sport, you know, at the end of the day, we're just competing, you know, we never want any ill will towards each other. We want everybody to come out happy and healthy and well, maybe not happy, but healthy and every live to fight another day. And that's a big thing within the boxing community. Everybody has this beef before, but I don't know too many even male fighters that haven't like where we hug and respect each other at the end because we've just been through war.
Are you married? Do you have a partner that you're sharing your career with, and that and
No,
has the that sort of reaction every time you train or step into the ring?
I am very fortunate that I have like a bunch of really, really good friends that I've known my entire life. And so they all experience that every time I fight. And every time I see them, they literally are like, okay, are we done? This is killing us every time you get in the ring. And I'm like, well, you know, we're almost there. It's close. But yeah, my family, they wear that you know, and that nervousness, that energy, and I actually recently experienced all of that. I did a couple times when the guys I train with, I have a couple really good friends of mine that I watch fight and get stopped and knocked out, and it was awful. But recently with Tyson Fury, I was because my trainer is the same trainer, I got brought in as a originally as a training partner. Tyson loved my work ethic and loved that I pushed him and made him grind a little bit. And his fight with Usyk, that first fight, and I experienced that with him and when he got almost I don't even know how he survived in the ninth round of that fight. I was watching like this, and this is someone I'm in the gym with every single day, and I was living in the camp house, you know, there was a bunch of us, but, you know, and I had a more of an appreciation for what my family goes through every single time because I was like, he's like my big little brother, you know, and it was awful to watch all of that, and I was like, "I do this?" I phoned my sister immediately. I was like, "I do this to you every time?" She's like, "Yeah, you do." And I was like, "I'm so sorry." I was like, "My heart is racing, I'm sweating, I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna vomit." And she's like, "Yeah, every single time." So, I don't really wish that on anybody.
And you're training
Yeah.
now for another fight. You fought in February of 2025. You're training now for another fight. What are quickly the details and dates and stuff like that? What's happening with it?
Well, my trainer was actually texting me last night. He said we're either go for mid-September or early October. So m- possibly Puerto Rico, but nothing's confirmed yet. We're just kind of trying to hash out the details.
And you're still
Yeah.
the body's holding up. You're still good. You're good to go. Like you're
Body,
if it was going to happen last week, then you're probably at fighting shape right now, right?
yeah, like we had found out like 3 weeks before the date. I was still training in case something came up. So we just need to fine tune couple weeks sparring and get really ready. Like I want to show up and finish things the way I want to finish them, which means we got to be ready to get a knockout every fight and see what we can do about that and come in the best form, best possible shape we can. So, I think the name of the game is just stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
I know you've got an appointment. You got a heart out, and I've still got like pages of things
Yeah,
that I wanted to
listen,
talk to you about.
we can
So
we can
you know what I want to do is after your fight, I want to chat again. So like
yeah, for sure.
whether it's in September or October, whichever, as soon as you are up to it and your schedule permits, let's do this again because I absolutely love talking
I
to you.
I have like we have a lot of time when we're in camp. Like it's always all we do is eat, sleep, train, repeat. So, yeah, I have a lot of time, even if you want to catch up on things. And when we know what's happening, we can do something when I'm down there. Just have to figure out the time. It's only 2 hours, not a big deal. So,
Okay.
2 hour time change. So we can jump on and do another part if you want.
Well, then let's keep in touch. Make sure you let me know exactly what's happening when the schedule fleshes out for your bout,
Okay.
and we'll connect again.
Okay. No, I appreciate this. That was fun talking. I haven't thought about a lot of the stuff in many, many years, so it's fun for me.
Reluctantly.
This podcast reluctantly sponsored by homegirls.ca, a top producing team at Remax Professionals, and thompsonmortgages.com. They take care of the financials. You search for your perfect home. If you're searching for a home in the Edmonton area, please use both of these fine sponsors.
Reluctantly.